Hey everybody, welcome to Beyond the Bench podcast today, but we have a wonderful guest for you all, Chris Matthieu, VP of Developer Ecosystem and Chief Hacker at RealSense.
The big thing that NVIDIA has been pushing, and rightly so, is embodied AI or physical AI. It's the idea of putting like an LLM or a VLM, vision language model, and an action model on the robot itself so that the robot is basically powered by this AI brain now. And so instead of programming it, you're able to just give it a mission. It's realistic that every household could have a humanoid in the next, say, even 5 years. It's moving that fast.
You were talking about earlier a new product on facial recognition. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, we have a new camera and an embedded module for...
Hi everybody, welcome to Beyond the Bench, where we discuss taking hardware through production and the stories along the way. My name is Bill Brock, CEO of Peridio, the ecosystem for building and maintaining advanced embedded products.
Hey everybody, welcome to Beyond the Bench podcast, Hardware Stories That Matter. We're doing it's too pretty of a day to do this inside, so I'm on my back porch. Forgive the casual nature today, but we have a wonderful guest for you all, Chris Matthieu, VP of Developer Ecosystem and Chief Hacker at RealSense. Chris, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Bill, thanks for inviting me. This is awesome.
And we're going to have a good time today. So before we get into RealSense, you've been in this hardware space for a while. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh my gosh. You see my white beard. I've been coding for like 40 years. They tease me at RealSense saying I'm the chief hacker, but I've built and sold 5 emerging tech companies, and we talked briefly. One was an Internet of Things company called Octoblue, sold it to Citrix about 10 years ago. The last one I built was a decentralized supercomputing company called Computes.com, sold that to Magic Leap. Joined Intel as an entrepreneur in residence, helping these new technology startups like get funding and ultimately spin out of Intel, and landed on the RealSense team, back playing with IoT and robotics, and I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this. This is awesome.
Yeah, you've got a hacker dream job, 100%. So RealSense has been around for a while. When was this created within Intel? What was the first version, or was it even created with Intel? What's the background on RealSense?
It was created within Intel, kind of like the entrepreneur in residence type program. It was Intel's perception computing group in 2014. 80 patents later, a couple of dozen products. Intel decided to focus on chips, which was a good call, and we were established already. Profitable revenue. Stream. I think we're on 60% of the robots in the market space already, and growing as the robotics market grows. And RealSense, our Intel decided to spin us out just 3 months ago in July. We did a Series A of $50 million, including an investment from Intel Capital. And we're excited. We're kind of like teenagers, like leaving the nest and kind of scrappy out there in the marketplace, and having a lot of fun.
It's an interesting story. A lot of times, and we work in software for hardware companies. We see companies in our like startup ecosystem go to the big corp, and the innovation slows and shifts and aligns with their roadmap. And I don't know if the users are always happy, but that is not the case with what's happened with Intel and RealSense. And you guys have obviously major traction in robotics. And I was looking on LinkedIn earlier today and just clicking through some engineer I'm connected with, showing a picture of the robot, and very obviously there's like a Jetson, and then there's like a RealSense camera on there, and it's like a really cool race car. And I think entry point for this conversation, you guys do a really good job of satisfying the developer audience and also the production ready solutions. So could you talk to me about that, like how you split your focus and like developer happiness versus production ready?
That's a fine balance, and I'm a developer at heart. I love developers. I talk to them every day, and I try to get the good, the bad, and the ugly. You want to know, how they feel about the product. And we've since the beginning we've had an open source SDK, so it's Apache 2 license. You do anything you want to do with it. It's got bindings for like C++, Python. It even has ROS SDK SDK as well. So for the robotics industry, the robot operating system, it makes it really easy just to plug and play and build stuff. And I've been vibe coding a lot lately. I don't know if you have, but like, letting cursor write code. Oh my gosh, like because ROS is open source, because the RealSense SDK is open source, I'm able to just say, hey, and I did this talk at Focus a couple of weeks ago in Seattle. I live coded, vibe coded this follow me ROS robot application in I only had 30 minutes. So it was
Oh my
either
god.
gonna work or not work. And I had this little robot like follow me around on stage. It wrote Vibe coding wrote all the code, and really I think it's because of the open source nature of those SDKs. Like it knew how to do it, all the examples were there, and it blew my mind that a real sense, cameras, on a robot's walking around following a person. It's utopia for a developer in with those tools.
I think that not I think the industry focus is now very heavily AI robotics in the field, or AI in the field enabling robotics, and we're getting into a golden age of innovation and capabilities there. What is the what's the secret sauce for RealSense? Why is it so much better? Why did you get the traction that you did?
Well, I see a lot of like 2D camera AI powered depth, algorithms coming out, which they're cool. It's amazing to see what AI is writing, but really where the traction of RealSense comes is I'm holding up our newest D555 RealSense stereo depth camera. There's a lot of compute power on our cameras. Like there's an ASIC that's powering all the depth perception of the camera sensors. And so when it looks at at the scene, an RGB camera, you can get like a 1080p type, image of the scene where you have RGB pixels. With a RealSense camera, every pixel also has a depth parameter. So we call it RGBD. So then with this ASIC in the cameras, it only takes about 1 millisecond to assign a depth value on every pixel it looks at in a live stream. So it's not having to use the compute on the robot to figure any of this stuff out. Like the camera itself is, we call it a vision cortex. Like it's like your human brain, like your eyes are basically seeing things and formulating a perception, that then tells the brain, that kind of middleware what to do. And that's what we view these at. So robots, they're able to walk around and instantly say, hey, there's an obstacle in my way, or I'm mapping the space. I understand where I'm at in the
Yeah.
space, like without redlining the robot CPU and GPU.
Right. Yeah. You can handle all that on board and have it clean output from the camera, and then they can focus on their AI and business logic, and you're just doing the perception stack.
Exactly, exactly.
Did you ever hack on the Connect?
I did. That was pretty groundbreaking when it came out. Yeah, and then they discontinued it. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like Connect came and went, and then here we are with a production. I mean, you're showing me the Connect. It's like,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's not. I'm not trivializing your work
yeah.
at all, but that looks exactly like what I was playing with 2008, 2009. We were doing I almost did I got into an accelerator and I pulled out. I competing priorities, but we were gonna do a like Amazon Go at the time with the Connect and like shelf recognition and all of that. And we'd done a lot of demos on like people tracking, and like it was a lot of fun. I'll say that, and it's just really cool to see 15 years later that this is now the standard stack for robotics. I was talking about robotics last week with some friends over at NVIDIA, and their whole software stack is, they call it robotics, but there's a ton of use cases there, and the way that they justify that branding is that perception is the foundational layer for any of this type of edge automation. Curious if you would mind expanding on that a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, the big thing that NVIDIA has been pushing, and rightly so, is embodied AI or physical AI.
Mm.
It's the idea of putting like an LLM or a VLM, a vision language model, and an action model on the robot itself, so that the robot is basically powered by this AI brain now. And so instead of programming it, you're able to just give it a mission. Kind of like on the Matrix. Remember when Keanu goes, "Oh, I know kung fu." Well, it's like the robot walks around, it sees a screwdriver, so then it goes, "Well, what's that? How do I use it?" So it figures out how to do
Yeah.
things. So we've been working a lot with NVIDIA lately, and our brand new that camera I held up earlier, the D555, it's got a built-in power Ethernet and ROS built into the camera. But what it also can do, NVIDIA has this new sensor live real-time sensor protocol bridge called Holoscan.
Yep, 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 yep.
We can now stream all of the
Get out.
RGBD directly into the GPU on via Holoscan on the NVIDIA Jetson. So now imagine what that's doing. Like now the GPU has like a live stream of the RGBD, and now it can do like mission critical things like move twice as fast, 3 times as fast, avoid a human, this is stuff is getting really interesting with the addition of embodied AI, like, right around the corner.
So, personal question and maybe valuable to the audience or personal curiosity. Why is this feels very similar to where people have been working with FPGA for a long time with Holoscan and what they're doing. So why is this new approach interesting or different to compared to the FPGA architecture?
Well, so for one, I think this is faster and everything's included in a camera. So as you put like, 4 of these cameras or, like you had Symbion on a recent episode of your podcast. They run 15 or more of the RealSense cameras in the robots. So you've got every camera has its own compute. You don't need the extra hardware and battery drain and compute of an FPGA anymore. Like this camera does it all, and you can synchronize them, stack them. The robot can now see 360 degrees all the way up, the aisle of shelving, like a Symbi Tally does.
Super fascinating, and appreciate the tangent on the FPGA. You were talking about earlier a new product on facial recognition. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, we have a new camera and an embedded module for companies that want to do facial authentication for mostly like access control systems. So I know if you're an enterprise employee, you've got the badge around your neck, you're probably tired or you forget it at home or you're getting tired of like either hitting access codes on the door or holding your badge up. Our cameras are now like super fast, super accurate. They still run the 3D. I don't know if you can see that, like there's stereoscopic imaging for faces, but these things are great for like access control, theme parks, where people don't have badges, or cruise ships where you're just in your swimsuit getting off the boat or coming back on. We're seeing a lot of interest in the access control market around these spatial authentication cameras. But we had talked about a relation to robotics, where as these humanoids are being deployed in work environments or your homes, the humanoids, well, even AMRs, mobile robots for that aspect too, they need to know who they're taking orders from, maybe, or who they're working with. Like, hey, go bring Bill, the socket wrench or the beer, or like, it needs to know who Bill is and where he's at so I can locate and interop with you.
And so how do you program around that? I mean, obviously we're not putting every face in the world onto a real sense. Yeah, how does that actually work in practice?
Yeah, so again, this is an open source SDK. There's even REST APIs to make this super simple for developers. But for security, these things run basically as a face print, which is basically like a computer hash. So developers out there, when you hash like something, you could take a whole document and it comes down to like this unique string of letters and numbers that you can't reverse engineer it. You can't go from like a hash back to the document, but you can always verify that that document unchanged will always equal that hash. That's
Okay.
pretty much how this thing it does a quick like vector face print, of what you've got that turns that into like a hash, and it can store it on device. So
Okay.
you could operate these without the cloud, pure security control of the camera, or you could go to a secure millions of faces solution as well if you need it.
So say I wanted to put this on my front door, attach it to a lock, and have it recognize family members, and that be it.
Yep.
What does that look like on the actual like training side?
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I did a video demo with all the code open source to do just that. Like this on my lock
Okay.
with an aug. I had
This was not a softball question. This is him having done the actual thing,
Yeah,
unprompted.
and again, I vibe coded it in, like, probably 30 minutes, and I said, "This is cool, let me put it on YouTube and get it out on social media," but it was super easy to do, and yeah, you put only your family, it doesn't have to talk to the cloud. I used, like, Seam has a good lock API that operates with, like, 100 different, smart door locks, and I just said, "If true, whatever I put on here, my family, if true, unlock the door." It was so simple.
That's unbelievable. What are you seeing next in robotics? I mean, everything's moving so fast. You guys are at the heart of so much of it. What's hype? What's real? And yeah, where do you think the barriers are?
Oh, man, that's a real we could talk for an hour on that question alone. I think you made a point earlier about vision being the core of robotics. I truly do believe that. Like, with all this physical AI, the robots to be able to interoperate or operate in the world, especially embodied AI, which is coming. Like you can see it, all the writing on the wall. I don't think we need to program robots anymore. Like I think they'll just accept missions. The robot needs to understand spatially. It needs to be spatially aware of its surroundings and how to interact with other robots, how to interact with people. And even like Figure had a good demo where two robots were working together to put their groceries into the refrigerator or vice versa. And so I mean all of that is coming. And what I love about this is that all of this code is being open sourced or demonstrated, and we love makers, we love developers. We've recently launched an $80 RealSense camera, stereo depth camera, 3D, where we're using our open source SDK. You can start prototyping whatever you build on this $80 RealSense camera will translate to a $500 camera and an industrial. So what I love is as you're building these little Ross robots, they look like toys, but in reality, whatever you build on these little Raspberry Pi Ross-powered robots with RealSense, they'll work on a $50,000 AMR or a humanoid at scale. So, to your point, I think that the next who knows what the next couple of people in a garage are gonna build that's really, really cool that takes off like wildfire. So, we're
Yeah.
trying to make it simple for developers to just bring their ideas to market.
What do you think of the video language action models that are coming out?
So I think that it's amazing what they're capable of doing. Like so I was just trying to use VLMs without a VLA, and that was pretty smart. But when you add like some reasoning and intelligence to understanding of the video, it's incredible. I interviewed some guys from Momo Act, I think was their name, and they're working on on a reasoning model that I think looks maybe even next generation VLA type stuff. So all of this tech is moving so fast. And OpenMind, they just raised I think 20 million Series A. They're a partner of RealSense. They're building the reasoning all built in where sensor fusion they call it. All the inputs of a robot can stream into their open source mind, if you will. So they're doing the VLM work, the VLA work for you. So then you as a programmer can even expedite, what humanoid tasks or whatever powered by OpenMind. So much work and so much investment and so much open source is happening in that space. That's why I think I'm bullish on embodied AI.
Yeah.
It's getting so impressive.
I met a company a couple weeks back as kind of my crash course introduction to this whole space, and it frankly blew my mind. But what he was showing me, his company's name Get Solo. They do fine tuning for VLAs and VLM, and they did an AMR, a cooler delivery robot, running through the streets with no slam stack, like no slam anymore. It's just all AI. And it's crazy. And these models are coming out of the big companies, and it feels like we're at the foundational model, GPT, Gemini, whatever, whoever, Claude arms race moment for physical systems. I don't think it's receiving the same amount of attention yet. I mean, it's more fun to watch on Twitter or X when the robots are doing backflips and everything, and the Neo moment of like, I know kung fu now. Like, that's actually what's happening. That's what NVIDIA is showing on the daily. Do you think that what do you think about just waiting for Google to put out the next big model versus these startups tackling it?
I think startups are good. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I think that small teams can outmaneuver big companies still. It's risky that big companies catch on to what you're doing, and if it's not patented, properly, that it's pretty easy for a big company to finally go, "Oh, that's a great idea. Let me put some resources behind it to do it." But big companies are slow, and they don't seem to innovate like the startups, the 2 folks in a garage. So I think it is interesting, to Presidio and what we were talking about earlier, it's that first to market. There's a huge, win at being first to market and adoption in the market. So I still think it's wise and good for companies, like OpenMind. They're trying to be the Android of robots. And I love that marketing positioning that they're using is that the humanoids, all these big companies are focusing on their own humanoid and maybe or maybe not open sourcing their components. OpenMind is trying to collectively share or interoperate across all these big company brands to help spread the capabilities, which I think is novel, but also important for the velocity of all of this embodied AI.
Have you been following the Pi group, Pi Robotics?
Well, like
Um,
Raspberry Pi, or you're
no, no,
talking?
no. There's a maybe it's physical robotic, but their model is called Pi 0.5.
Oh, yes, yep,
Uh,
yep, yep, yep. The VLA stuff.
Yeah, Physical Intelligence,
Yeah,
that's their
yep.
company. They did a really sick demo, and I was talking about it earlier today, where they, are just dropping these robots into random kitchens all over San Francisco and asking it to, like, clean up a mess, and I'm like, "This stuff's happening, guys, we're 2 years out," and people are like, I saw an article yesterday, or like, "Morgan Stanley says there's humanoids are gonna be blah, blah, blah by 2050, but one thing you're not thinking about," I'm like, "Man, by 2050, we are done." 2050? Like, you're worried about adoption by
It's a long way,
2050?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. 2030 is gonna be, a big, big shift. This stuff is gonna be
yeah.
very mainstream. I mean, yeah, anyway.
I think it's realistic that every household could have a humanoid, like, in the
Yeah,
next, say, even 5 years, like you were mentioning. Like, it's moving that fast, and I saw Unitree's releasing one for $5,900.
yeah,
Like, that's getting to the point where it's very affordable. If that thing could clean my pool and cut my grass, like, that would save me 500 a month on services, so
yeah,
I could redirect my money to a humanoid.
exactly. You mentioned Unitree. Intel is a great American brand. I think it's had its ups and downs, and it's on a resurgence right now. I'm bullish on Intel, love this NVIDIA partnership. How does RealSense think about the like American origination of the technology, and the importance of like domestically producing these tools?
Yeah, so, Intel, just signed a deal with NVIDIA. I think NVIDIA invested like $5 billion into Intel.
Like NVIDIA's like just
Maybe we'll see NVIDIA producing chips, in Intel fabs. They've been doing a lot of work, building factories or fabs that can build other chipsets besides Intel chips, like maybe Apple or NVIDIA. Like, I think that we will see a lot of that coming. Outside of TSMC, like, Intel is number 2 chip maker in the world, for quantity. So, and they continue to innovate. Like, I think they didn't see like the mobile opportunities when Apple approached them. They didn't see the importance of GPUs. Like, I think a lot of people thought it was just a gaming, type system, so they didn't see the AI. But now they do. I think Intel is on fire right now, in a good way. And the stock is on the rise. Like, I think there's a lot happening, a lot of innovation. I think robotics, I've heard that they've resurrected their robotics team again, so I think Intel's making the right decisions under the new leadership.
Yeah, and RealSense, where are you guys based? Are you out of Hillsboro or
Out of Cupertino, so,
Cupertino?
we
Okay,
we we took over an old Apple office, so we're hoping some
cool.
Steve Jobs mojo rubs off on us.
Are you there locally?
I'm in Phoenix,
We
Arizona, but
talked about that. Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
I do get to the Bay Area, frequently. I love the Bay Area. Like you were just talking about kitchens, robots in kitchens, like, there's so much, mind share, collective mind share happening there, it's cool.
Um, Shift gears a little bit. You guys just closed a Series A. Like you've been around for 9 years. What's it like post spinout? Like startup mode for a super established, very very well adopted product. How does it feel? What's going on? Like what's on the horizon?
Yeah, so, it's been fun running like a startup. Like the team in place now, a lot of folks, came from the Intel incubator program, so very much entrepreneurs at heart. We're able to I mean, one of the first things we did was start working with NVIDIA, like really, really closely, and that was kind of viewed as a competitive platform when we were Intel. So we're able to run faster, we're able to, innovate faster, we're able to, attend shows and have, NVIDIA compute on the counter side by side with RealSense cameras. So, I our inventory, I think we almost sold out of half the inventory when we spun out. All of that's coming back, back in the warehouses and fulfillment centers, but we've been on fire ourselves, like
Yeah.
a lot of and you go to these shows like,
What
uh
shows are you going to?
well, so I was at Focus, but, we'll be at the Humanoid Summit. I'll be at the Pittsburgh Robotics Day, in November 5th. You go to these shows and you look around and they're all running RealSense cameras. So,
Yeah.
like, from that perspective, I'm having a field day talking with developers, customers, partners, it we're able to move a lot more quickly, these days with those conversations.
What percentage of your sales can you share are more developer oriented versus like high volume going towards like robotics in the field? I'm sure you're like an early signal for how serious the robotics movement is.
Yeah, I think it's all over the board. So, we've got big companies, like leaders in the humanoid space, leaders in the AMR space, leaders in the quadruped, like the dog robot space that are all running real sense cameras. So, the more robots they produce, like Simbi we were just talking about in your podcast, the more they produce, the larger their orders are getting of RealSense cameras, but also all the way down to students and makers like that whole space is on fire. Like you talked about Hackster. I was in Munich for the Le Robot Hackathon, worldwide hackathon several months ago. And RoboToom, that's like the Technical University of Munich robotics program. They're on fire. Like all the students are building on like the D421 camera I mentioned earlier, like $80 RealSense cameras. They're building amazing AMRs, little humanoids, arm robots, stationary arm robots. Like you don't know which one of those little ventures are going to be your next 10,000 orders. That's why I'm really excited about too.
So you got a lot of guitars in the background. What is it country? Is it rock? What are you into?
Oh my gosh, I'm a huge fan of 80s 80s rock, like Ozzy Osbourne and Rat and like a whole crazy hairband movement. But lately, I have been getting into blues, a lot of like blues. I'm from Louisiana originally, so the Zydeco Cajun music is always like something playing like while I'm cooking a gumbo or something like that. So I have a friend that plays the harmonica, the harp, so, we get together and we pull out some try to make, his harp sound like an accordion, kind of do some Zydeco style bluesy stuff. Yeah, it's fun. I love it all. I love country too. I think where you're at there in Tennessee, I would have a blast.
Yeah, it's we've got a good energy obviously here in Nashville. More drinks served than tech startups happening, but it's a good energy. Did you ever see a show Tales from the Tour Bus? Mike Judge did a couple seasons on you might like it. And just like the Louisiana throwback kind of was the logical leap for me there. Mike Judge did an animated series where he's doing documentaries on famous country musicians. Loretta Lynn was one of them. And they're like all like I don't know if he did Johnny Cash, but it was just so interesting how many of the artists that he followed came from like deep Mississippi, Louisiana, and then they like moved their way up to Memphis and then got over into Nashville. And how like I think about like gangster rap and like hardcore, like really people were like afraid of the some of the like just outlaw culture there, and how that was very much the case for like early country, but way back in the day. And so these people, they'd grow up singing gospel or whatever, all in their churches, and then they have this like 20-year like dark period where they finally end up in Nashville and make it big. But just like outlaws, old school country outlaws.
Oh yeah, I was watching Elvis, like the latest movie with Elvis, and they talked about how he was heavily inspired by all the gospel music, and I think he remade a lot of that music too, and got full credit for it. And yeah, there's a long history of amazing music down south.
Well, Chris, this has been awesome. I'm so glad that you responded to my random LinkedIn request and decided to come on the show. Would very much love to stay in touch. And for anybody who's hasn't heard of RealSense, which might be surprising at this point, how do they find out about it?
RealSenseAI.com. You can actually buy cameras, like buy it now button right on the site, and start hacking, and publish to Hackster. Those are cool little iteration. Reddit, we're on all the social media channels, and hit me up. Like if you've got questions or need a jump start, into the vision cortex, of robotics. I'm Chris Matthieu on all the social channels as well. Hit me up. And thank you, Bill. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you for hitting me up as well.
Absolutely. Well, we'll do it again in 6 months. We'll have you back on. All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, everybody, just a quick reminder, this podcast is presented by Peridio, the ecosystem for building and maintaining advanced embedded products.